Hey people, what's good? Mount Let the Hellfire. Hope everybody's doing great. Welcome back for another video. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Glad to have you. I do a bunch of Knights Armament related content, suppressor testing, AK gunsmithing, and commo, signals intelligence, and electronic warfare related content for the prepared citizen. So if this or any of that in the catalog interests you, check out the other videos, the playlists, and the channels, and hopefully you'll earn your subscription by the end of it. And to everybody else, could you please continue to like, comment, and share the videos to help the channel grow? I really do appreciate all of you. Let's get into it. We're talking about the Knights Armament Company URX6, or Universal Rail Extender. I always mess up that acronym. This is, well, the sixth version of it. It's a little bit different than the URX4, even though it shares a similar profile in that it has an anti-rotation tab there at the top. You can see it's marked URX6. This one is for an SR25. It is 13.5 inches long, though it's a bit shy of that. It's more like 13.45 or so. Installation-wise, this thing is kind of in between a URX2 or URX3 or 3.1 and a URX4. So instead of needing a goofy barrel nut wrench for the URX4 that claws on the top of that, and if you want to see how that works, be sure to check out the M110K3 clone video, or an internal barrel nut wrench that goes over the top of a, internal barrel nut that squishes the upper receiver to the barrel extension, like on the URX2 and URX3, and check out yet another video on the top right for that. This one's a bit in between. So the concept is that the major difference, it uses a proper two-piece barrel nut. So the barrel nut threads over the barrel into the upper receiver. You torque it down, and for the SR25, this is 85 foot-pounds you need to torque this down. Then you would just simply slide the upper receiver over the top of it, and it indexes again with that anti-rotation tab, which I haven't milled out just yet. This is a Centurion Arms Mark 11 upper receiver. This is for their own index pin on a Centurion Arms upper. So I'm going to need to file this out or mill it out a little bit wider and a little bit deeper to fit the anti-rotation tab. But you would slide this over, time it, and then this castle nut looking thing, which is a really big beefy castle nut, will thread onto this section. And where the internal groove in here will tension the lip of the barrel extension into the upper receiver. You see there's also an internal groove in the URX6, not too unlike the URX4. And you can see it there, maybe at the other end, if I get it to focus. But where my finger is sticking out in the beneath of it, that's where this will torque down on top of. So everything gets squished together nice and linearly, and then you're good to go. And then you'll just have to fish in your gas block and gas tube, which is a bit goofy, but it's not really too hard because you got plenty of room to work with, honestly. So you would just pre-install the gas tube and then send that thing down the length of the barrel, tap it in with like a wooden dowel or something like that. The only thing is just making sure that it's straight, but you're more or less good to go. I would remove the set screws out of the gas block just so you could see the dimple. Now, parts-wise, this is eventually going to be a full clone, but there's a couple things I need to do. Namely, I need to get a barrel nut or big giant castle nut wrench fabricated for this. That would have a interface for the castle nut dimensions, and they're the same on both. If you want to see the actual measurements, I have a Reddit post with this up on the r/CAC subreddit, where I took measurements of consequence, but it would need to be wide enough that it would fit over the top of the barrel. But if you didn't have a local to fabricate and you didn't want to do it yourself, I believe Raid Research, who does Cerakote services, is offering a pre-order on your X6 wrenches for like $265 or so. Just wanted to put the information out there. And I did talk to Knights Armament. They did mention that armorers kits for these are coming out, but they didn't say when. And in true Knights fashion, that could be next week, next month, next year, or, well, never, right? So eventually this will be an M110K7 because the URX6 is used on the M110K7, which is a 14.5 6.5 Creedmoor. It's used on the M110K6, which is a 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor with a 15-inch URX6. And then, of course, the 19 or 19.5-inch variant is used on the M110A3, which I also have on the channel. And the very first video on this channel is actually a review of the M110A3, and it's clone correct parts. I got an extra T2 battery cap because I'm going to do a 1-to-8 with a floating T2. This is using the 2-port muzzle brake from Knights Armament, QDC compliant, so it doesn't need a MAMS or anything like that. And then for these HTX concepts, the gas block journal is 0.750. So I'm using a low profile gas block, non-tabbed, of course, from Centurion Arms because, well, you get them pretty cheap when it comes with the upper receiver, and that's a Centurion Arms thermal fit Mark 11 upper receiver. And I've tried to test fit this, and oddly enough, it only fits on 1 out of my 3 lowers. And of course, the lower it fits on is the other lower with a Centurion Arms Mark 11 on it, my K3 clone, which is using a 6.5 barrel, but it uses the 15-inch URX4. The only other thing that I've noticed is this slot cut up here. I suppose it's to get access to the Mod 2 gas system, and good luck finding one of those. I don't even know how to put one together, if I did find one, to be honest. It's probably the easiest install, I want to say, of all of them. You know, there's no shims, there's no internal barrel nuts, you don't have to time the upper receiver correctly. Like with the URX2 and the URX3, you would put your barrel in, and you would thread the outer threads onto here, and then time it one way or another. It didn't use shims, you would just use like a scope base to time it, and then you would push down the internal barrel nut that would essentially act as a jam nut between the internal threads of the URX2, URX3, and the flange of the barrel extension. So that one was goofy. The URX4 sought to improve it by not having an extra barrel nut. If the barrel nut was inside, you would just barrel in the upper receiver, thread this on, and then time it to get to about the 11-11-30 position, and then you would torque it with at least 60 up to 140 foot-pounds of torque. You had to go by feel on what top dead center was. With this, with the anti-rotation tab, it just fits right in there. So that's pretty cool. And, you know, other than that, you just need a goofy wrench, which looks like the URX2, URX3 wrench for the SR25. That's all I got for you. There's a couple things I need to do still. First off, I need to get this milled or filed. And then I need to send the barrel off to Templar Concepts or Templar Armory, forget what they're called. They do a bunch of ACR stuff, but they do a barrel dimpling service because the M110K7 is dimpled. I saw one at ALSA back in 2019. There's a guy who works for Knights who has an M110K7 video out there. Look forward to a full assembly video once I get everything else that I need, but this is pretty much done. I just need to get another SR25 lower, and we're off to the races, and then I could start doing some suppressor comparisons for the QDC line of suppressors on 6.5 guns. Apologies for the noise above me. It's the kids running around, but speaking of which, I should go spend time with them. It's 4th of July when I'm recording this, so hopefully you had a good Independence Day 2025 and nothing stupid happened. Remember to spend time with family and friends, and if you're going through a bad time, reach out and talk to somebody, man. Nobody's going to think that you're bitch made or whatever for going ahead and doing that. Lift more weights, eat more steaks, be safe, be well. I'll catch you in the next one. Mount Let the Hellfire.